Hello everyone, welcome to today's episode of Let's Talk Footy featuring Toronto High Park Football Club. I'm your host Shaheen, and today I'm going to be sitting down with Toronto High Park Football Club's president Bill Praamsma and also our general manager Jason Massie. Today we're going to talk about what we've been up to as a club in the past few years, in the past couple of months. What are some of the things that we're proud of as a club, as a community, and also what some of our plans are in the short term and long term future. So sit back and enjoy the show. Hello, guys. Welcome to the show. Hi, Jason. Hi, Bill. It's good to have you guys.
Hi.
Good to be here.
I'm good. Thank you for asking. Before we get started, I would like you guys to, tell us a little bit about yourselves, who you are, your involvement with the club. Any one of you. Doesn't matter.
I'll go first. I've been involved in the club for a number of years. So I'm Bill Praamsma. I'm currently the president. I started off as president in March. So we had our annual general meeting basically the first day, right before the pandemic started. So my first act as president was to cancel soccer. Ideally, really not the situation you wanted to be in. But before that, I was on the board for a number of years as the registrar. And then I have two boys in the league and in the club, and I also play. I'm actually one of the men's league's players. So a lot of times, a lot of connections to the club. It's been a big part of my life.
Awesome. Yeah, it sounds like you can see, our club from a few different perspectives, which is good. As a parent, as a player, and as a president currently. That's great. And Jason, yourself?
Yeah, obviously my name's Jason Massie, and I'm the general manager of the club. I guess I came from Halifax to Toronto, and I'm in my fourth year here now at the club, and I used to be the director of coaching for the U11 and 12 girls when I first came. And then I kind of progressed as time has gone by, and I'm fortunate enough to be in the position that I'm in today. So that's me.
Jason, I want you to tell us a little bit about, some of the things that you're involved within the club, specifically maybe in the past couple of months because of the pandemic. What are some of the things that you had to be involved in? What are some of the things that you're proud of as the GM of the club and some of the achievements we've had as a club?
Yeah, I think one of the most obvious ones is COVID. And as soon as COVID hit, we had a big decision to make, and that was, were we going to keep our staff on? And a number of organizations, not just soccer clubs, but obviously all organizations were laying their staff off, and we made a conscious decision, obviously with the support of the government funding, to keep the staff on it and to keep running online programs. So I think it makes me pretty proud to be part of a club that has done that, and that's everyone included, like the board, the senior leadership, to keep the staff on. I think it's been amazing and something that I'm really, really proud of. And I think the way that the technical team kept all the parents and players engaged during COVID has been top class. And those are probably two of my proudest moments over the past 6 months.
Awesome. Great to hear. And how about you, Bill, as a president, as a parent? I coach both of your sons. As a player yourself, what are some of the things that you're proud of?
Well, I'm just going back to what Jason was talking about. It's been such a long 6 months, right? Like you can break it into so many little pieces. And I kind of go back to that annual general meeting where I took over as president, and longtime president Dennis Hancock, who was a great president, kind of stepped away. And, you kind of got that announcement that schools were shutting down. And they were shutting down on Friday. And it was like, what are you going to do with your programs? And we kind of came out and we made a big decision that we would, right away, On Friday, we sent out a message about canceling the programs. And you go back to that, it's just so much uncertainty when you think back. And we were going week to week. And we had board meetings every week to make decisions. And it was really, it was just, you really didn't know where you were. And I'm really proud of just the decisions we made. Because in those situations, you could make a lot of decisions. And we basically made a decision just to kind of bet on the full-time staff and the core people that we had, and go with them. And it was one of those things I think is just part of the culture of the club. Like, we really wanted to emphasize, we think that's super important. So early on, I'm proud of those decisions. I can take credit for a bit of them, just in terms of, you're a champion. You're a champion for the full-time staff. You're a champion for Jason. You're a champion, for Gareth. You're a champion for all the people that who are doing great work. And then, watching people deliver. And you can't take credit for that, right? But you watch them, sort of go ahead. And right away, we go out with this online programming, the stay at home, and you don't know. But when you're a parent and you have a kid he's playing soccer 4, maybe 5 times a week, all of a sudden it's like you can't move. Yeah. And you can't see your friends, you can't see anything. And then you have that in your living room, you have Emmanuel in your living room, and you're essentially, they're doing little like moves with the ball, and that kind of stuff. And it's a bit of normalcy. So I'm really proud of that, those early decisions that we made, which led to that sort of stay-at-home program. I got to give full credit to the people who led that. I know Gareth did a great job. I know Emmanuel and Adrian and all those people did a great job with that. And I think what you saw from their work is you kept that connection with the club. And you saw that kind of in the summer when we opened up the registration and people kind of came back. Yeah. And I think probably, we'd have to fact check this, but I'm pretty sure we had the highest retention rate of all the clubs in the Toronto Soccer Association. The people who kind of were in the winter and kind of came back to the summer, and that was pretty amazing to see. And I'm quite happy about that. The other thing that I was really proud of, and it's kind of an administrative thing, but really proud of the communication that we had. In a time like that, when there's so much uncertainty, it's so important just to be able to communicate well, and articulate what you're doing, but also the refund policies that we have.
You also mentioned something very interesting. You mentioned the culture within the club. I want to ask both of you, as the GM and as the president, what kind of culture and environment are we looking to build within our club for our players, for our parents, for our coaches? You guys want to touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's one of accountability, and that's one of our values actually, and it's one of my personal values as well. And accountability is being transparent with what you're doing, which is alludes to what Bill was talking about with the refunds and allowing people to get refunds, and also being transparent with your players about your expectations of the players. Like, as a coach, we forget that we need to set expectations, and then you get frustrated because a player is not maybe delivering, but they actually don't know what you want them to do. So it's impossible for them to meet your expectations. And so it's important that we set expectations and we're accountable. And that's what we want to do, continue to foster at the club. And parent webinars seem to have been quite a big hit. And before COVID, we'd spoken about doing some kind of town hall stuff where people come and chat to the staff. And it was always like, well, it's very difficult to find a time for parents to go, and for the TV to get time on an evening is almost impossible. So actually, the positive of COVID has been the webinars. And I was on a webinar the other night, which Gareth did, and it was great. Like, people were able to ask questions and have a connection with people at the top. So we want to continue to do more of that so that people feel part of the club, because person A might want, communication every week, right? They want to know everything. And then person B is quite content with, they don't need an email every week. And so that's why it becomes very difficult to be good communicators, because every person wants something different. And that's something it's one of my biggest frustrations, is we want to be a club that's good at communication. But if everybody wants different types, how do you satisfy them all, right? So that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I agree. How about you, Bill?
In High Park, one of our main advantages, there's a lot of very professional families in our community. We have a very professional community, and some of their core values are organization and communication. And I think when you're a community club, you have to reflect the values of your community. And for our club, that professionalism and organization and communication is just really a huge part of engaging with the families. And as much as we think we're doing it, we can always do more. And I do think that culture that we've kind of put that in over the past couple of years, it's really resonated. I personally get lots of good feedback. I know a lot of the people that we have in terms of our leadership roles and manager roles and coordinator roles, and our coaches, they're really stepping up their game in that component. Unfortunately for them, when you sort of, if they come and ask, how much is enough, it's probably never going to be enough. But that, and you have to be mindful. There's only so much time you can put on it. But that culture of organization and communication, in the same way that, our players and our coaches, they're competing against other teams on the field. I think we're competing on that component with other clubs as well, in a healthy, friendly way. But it's so important to get right, and I think we're doing a great job and we're making strides. And on the one hand, you always want to be able to compare yourself against yourself. Like, can I improve? Can I get better? But when you step back and you look relatively at it, and you compare yourself against what other people are doing, I think we come up quite well. So I think that's a huge component of the culture I think we want to build.
Yeah, I agree. I think I've been at the club for a year now, and I think as a club we set really high standards for everybody, for our coaches, for our players, just throughout the whole club. And I think everybody at the club is doing a really great job to try to meet those standards. So I would agree with you. To just change the mood a little bit, Jason, I've only been here for a year, but I've heard a lot of rumors that you're an ex-professional player. You played professionally, and I don't know if a lot of people know this within the club, if the players or parents are aware of this. If you want to talk about it, if you want to mention, I know you're an Everton fan, but I think you played for the rivals, if I'm not wrong. So if you want to touch on that.
Yeah, I spent 7 years at Liverpool, going right through the system until the reserves. So it was a pretty awesome upbringing, and obviously didn't make it into the first team, but I think, getting that setback so young kind of teaches you that pretty much, most things you can deal with and just move forward, because it was kind of tough, obviously, because you have your dream set on playing in the Premier League, and I'm the type of person that is kind of like all or nothing. Like, I don't know, I did play pro in like the States and in Canada, kind of in the old CSL league, but I mean, just to play professional is whether what level, doesn't matter the level. It's obviously something I'm very proud of, and being able to go through the academy was was an unbelievable experience. But yeah, that's kind of the short end of the story, and yeah, that's it.
What position did you play at Liverpool, if you don't mind me asking? I just want to see how you fit in with the current squad of Liverpool, you know.
I played like number 9 or number 10, like in a 4-4-2, so striker. And then I also played centre mid a little bit towards the end of my Liverpool career. So yeah, I used to score a lot of goals.
Right now, I'm just picturing you in behind that front three. Lots of goals, including Jason. That.
Yeah, it would be nice to maybe take Firmino's spot and play there even.
Why not?
Like next to Salah, or one better, I'd say I'll take Andre Gomez's spot, and then I can play with Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. That would be better.
Yeah, I bet. As a ex-player that played at a high level, what kind of advice would you give to our players that have high dreams, that want to play at a high level, or to our parents that have this dream for the kid?
I think number one is, it doesn't matter where you grow up. Like if you're a Canadian player, if you're an English player, there's kind of an opinion out there that Canadian players can't make it, that the Canadian system isn't good enough. We don't have the competition level for a player to develop. And you know what? Like I have to say I disagree with that 100%. Is it harder for the players here to make it? I think so, yeah. But it's not impossible, because we're seeing it over and over again. And the CPL starting up has been great for Canadian soccer. So I think number one is that you believe in the dream that you can be a pro player, and that the pathway is here in Canada. Obviously, it's a new league. But there's a pathway for players, especially we've got the male players. The females have to go down to the States, which is not ideal, but they still have a pathway as well, which hopefully we can have the female pathway soon completed in Canada. But that's number one. Like, don't let anybody tell you that, just because you grow up in Toronto, that you can't be a professional soccer player and play for Barcelona. That's number one. I guess number two would probably be, you're going to fail, and you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to lose, and you've got to get used to dealing with losing, because we lose every day, right? You get up every day and you're going to lose, and it's how you bounce back from that. And again, it'll go into values nicely. Is resilience is one of Gareth's values, which we talk to with the players, and that's, again, it's a bit like persistency, which is one of my personal values. And I try to be as persistent as I can at reaching my goals, because if you don't give 100%, then you're not going to reach those goals. I think third, this will be my last one, is there's always someone doing more than you, and there's always someone better than you, and you've always got to think like that. So when I was like 16, I was like, oh, I'm the best player in my school. Even at Liverpool at the time, you think you're one of the best players in the team. And then you go to England and you're like, okay, I'm not the best player on the team anymore. And I think we can all kind of get into our own little bubbles where we think we're great because we're great in our bubble. And we just constantly need to remind ourselves that there's always somebody out there that's better than you, and you've got to continue to strive and be better. I wish I knew that when I was 16, but
It's all
that's
right.
life, eh?
You can take it into your next dreams and next goals. Stay humble. What about yourself, Bill? As a parent, what kind of advice would you give to our players or to our parents?
Well, I'd probably give it more to the parents, and obviously I don't have the sporting pedigree that Jason has. So my body of work and thought on this and perspective might be a bit more limited. But I think if you really love soccer and your child shows some aptitude and you really want to support them. I think one of the greatest things you can do for them, is try and set up like a pickup game with them. I mean, it just just get them playing soccer. I mean, as a parent, there's lots of other things you can do to support your child, and I won't go into that. But in terms of soccer, I think one of the things we don't do enough is just play for fun. We've got our twice a week training, we've got our game, but just it's not as much that kids are playing at recess or they're playing after school or anything like that. So trying to set that up for them or start that and play with them and get that going. I think that's actually like my one little piece of advice would be. And I know as a parent it's kind of tough too, and you want the best for your child, and it's really competitive, and you want them to go do this training and go to this soccer school or go to this academy or that kind of stuff. But I think at the end of the day, you really want them to enjoy playing. You want them to have fun doing it. You want them to be like me and playing a men's league for middle-aged guys on Sundays, ideally, but you want them to keep playing. So try and build that in too, and find a way. I think that kind of street soccer, pick up kind of soccer where they're just having fun and playing and maybe doing things they wouldn't do in a game because they're afraid. I think that's probably my one advice is just try and make it fun for them. If you really want them to do well and want them to succeed, I think that's the one thing you can do. Yeah,
I completely agree. And I think that was the point and purpose of the street soccer program we had that was running before COVID on Sundays. I think I knew a lot of players that were going to it and they were enjoying it. And as you said, sometimes players are maybe hesitant to do certain things in games or practices where they just go, nobody's watching them, they're on their own, they're with their mates, and they're just having fun and enjoying the game, street soccer. So definitely. In terms of future, going forward for our club, what are our plans as a club? What are we trying to achieve in the short term, in the long term? What's the vision for our club?
Well, I'll take the first bit and I'll hand it off to Jason. I mean, right now we're kind of going season to season, and we know what a summer season looks like, and we got through that, and I think we don't stop and acknowledge that as much as we should. I mean, we were up and running kind of 3 months before schools were. And I know a lot of the protocols and procedures we put in place, a lot of our players, they're going through that. A lot of them went back to school this week and they're going through that. And they're a bit more acclimatized, actually. They've been living with that. When we started off and people were kind of in a box and they weren't allowed to move out of their box, and then we've kind of, moved up. So we know what the summer is going to look like, and obviously we'd love to add some more things to it. We'd like to add some more games, that kind of stuff, and maybe next summer we're able to, and maybe there'll be a league and that kind of stuff. But we're entering into winter, so we've got a shoulder season, October for the first time, where we're kind of squeezing in as much outdoor time as we can with people, and then we're going into the winter and we're moving into the dome, and that's going to create a bunch of new opportunities and a bunch of new challenges. So that's the immediate sort of component for the club and what to expect. And I think for all our families out there I got great feedback about in terms of just how the club ran during the summer, how professional that was, and that emphasis we put on safety. Just obviously expect that as well. That being said, still a lot of uncertainty out there, so flexibility is going to be a virtue. Patience is going to be a virtue. We know at least for the first couple of months, our gyms aren't going to be available. Hopefully we'll be able to have those in January. And that does change our programming a bit. But I think in the short term, you're going to expect a really high quality soccer experience in the winter in the Dome at LCI, which is going to be very comparable in terms of the quality. And we're going to build off what we did in the summer. I mean, in the long term, my real vision is we just stay with our roots a bit. Like we're a community club. We want to build off of that, and we have such a great grassroots program, which I'm a player in. That we want to keep building. We want to maintain that commitment to the High Park community. With that, and we've tended to offer sort of great value programming in the High Park community as much as we can. But then we've also, and you're part of this, we've built this competitive and high performance stream as well, where we tend to center off around LCI and Michael Power now in the summers. And, it's just progression, just like you would with a team. It's continuous improvement, it's progression, and it's lessons learned and how we apply them. And I think that's that future is very consistent to where our values are and our culture is that we're just going to keep moving and then improving, and then hopefully we'll be one of those, like, we'll be at the top, right? Right? Like we'll be the on-field and the organization and everything's going to come together and we'll get there, and the community feel will still be there as well. But it's a continuous journey of improvement and progression that I think that's where the future is. At least that's my perspective and the way I like to look at it.
We recently, Shaheen, the staff, and we recently created a vision for the club. And Shaheen, you should hopefully you remember it. It's community united through soccer. Yeah, I see. Yeah, he knew it. That's good. And and the reason why is because we all have soccer in common, and that's what brings us together. And certainly when I first joined the club, it was in the first year of its kind of professionalism, as one would say, in that there were professional coaches. So as I understand it, before the big overhaul, there was a TD that was paid, there was an administrators that were paid, but there was only 3 paid staff for the whole club. And obviously that's changed. And over the years, with any organization, you go from being a volunteer, community-driven club, you start to professionalize. Obviously, you lose that sense of community, right? So right now, I feel we're at the point where we're organized. We're a well-oiled machine, I would say, in terms of our admin and that kind of stuff. But really, what I'd like to do in the couple of years is really get that community feel back into the club, and there's obviously different ways that you can do that. And some of the things that Mark Colvin, who's our marketing and communications person, we were discussing about planting trees, that kind of stuff. Like it was all outdoor community stuff, which we can't do at the moment. So right now we're looking at other ways that we can still kind of give back to the community, and there are some digital ways that you can do that, believe it or not. So right now that's a little side project that Mark and I are working on, and so I think that'll be exciting to kind of bring the community feel back to the club, and that would be one of my main targets as being part of the leadership team.
Just before we wrap up, I have a question that I really want to ask you guys, and I don't have a lot of knowledge on this, so maybe I'll learn something. But from my understanding, you're both in the Fantasy Premier League. You follow it very seriously. I signed up for it, but I don't know how to get started. I picked my team, but I ran out of money. So any comments or advice to me or to anyone?
Yeah, I guess there's quite a lot of the coaches that play too. there's a coaches group that we have, and then there's the men's league has a group as well, and I'm sure there's many other groups that I don't know about. But yeah, I've been doing it for a few years, and it's obviously it's the FA Premier League. That's my home country, and I think it just promotes that community feel again between the people at the club. So like Bill and we have that in common, right? The Fantasy Premier League, and that's a big thing, and that's football connecting people again. So yeah, I think I know some of the kids do it as well, like through their parents' accounts, which I think is pretty cool. And it's not gambling because there's no money involved. It's all about respect. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Are you enjoying it, Bill?
Yeah, I had a great week. This is the first year. Usually I go with really safe teams. I probably would have picked Salah and Vardy and for game week 1, those types of players, and I didn't, and they had great game week 1s, and I was kind of freaking out a bit because I was starting to lose money. That's one of the things too. People transfer the players out and you lose money. But this week has been great. The thing is, I captained Rashford. I would have broke 100 if I didn't captain Rashford, but I had a really good differential week this week. So everyone had a great week last week, and I had a great week this week. So, but yeah, no, it's lots of fun. I don't know. I think Leeds. That's a really interesting story. They're scoring goals. They're fun.
They're also conceding a lot of goals.
They're conceding a lot of goals. We don't have to pick the defense.
Yeah.
I think I picked I had Everton players and Leeds players this week, and they were the only ones who didn't score on those teams. I can't believe that. But yeah, no, it's lots of fun. So you have a team? Are you in the coaches league?
And I know I tried to join, but I got carried away. But it was too difficult for me, so I have to look into it again.
Jason did pretty good last year. Did you place, Jason?
In the men's league, I think I finished 3rd or 4th, and in the coaches league, I won.
Oh wow!
yeah, like by 1 or 2 points though. It was like really close with Adrian and Gareth. But yeah, I'll get that in there for bragging rights.
I placed 1 year in the men's league. I came 3rd. That's the best I've done. I'm usually mid-table.
Usually like a Southampton mid-table.
So I'm knocking on Europa. I'm knocking on the door for Europa usually.
So like an Everton now?
Pretty much Everton, Spurs. I don't know. Maybe not recent Spurs, but
Spurs will be top 4. I'm gonna go out and say that. That's a big statement from me, but I think they will.
I agree with you.
Gareth Bale, it's gonna be awesome watching him in the Prem.
I'm gonna try and have an all-man bun team at one point, and Gareth Bale will be on that team.
I'm a big Real Madrid fan. I mentioned this in every podcast, I think, but I'm extremely happy that he left. But I think if there's one team or one coach that can change his career around, it's Spurs and Mourinho. So let's see how he does there. Yeah,
Mourinho's. I've been watching the Amazon Prime All or Nothing. It's amazing. Like some of the one-liners he comes out with, the conversation he has with Dele Alli. Just get all the kids that play soccer in Canada to watch that conversation rather than listen to my advice. Just watch Jose talk to Dele Alli, and he's like, "You have to hold yourself to a higher standard," and I just love that line. That was just one of the best lines I've ever heard.
Yeah, I've already told my OPDL boys that they should watch it, so I'll follow up.
It didn't really work with Dele Alli because he did well then, but he's not doing. Well.
There was a lot of rumors that he might be going to Real Madrid, that he was going to be in the deal with Gareth Bale, but I guess that was just rumors. But I guess time will tell. All right, guys. I think we can wrap it up now. Great conversations. Thank you for being on the show again. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. I'm sure the listeners, players, parents, the community is going to take something from it. And hopefully we can have you guys again soon sometime.
Excellent.
Yeah, thanks Shaheen, top man. Thanks Bill.
My pleasure.
Thanks, guys.
So that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. Please give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe to our channel, and I will see you next time. Take care.